Hello, I'm Kerr. Welcome to my art studio. Indigo watercolour is probably not the first colour that we think about adding to our watercolour paint box. Indigo watercolour is an amazingly strong and rich blue. It's got some wonderful characteristics about it, and those are the things I want to show you in this video. So, are you ready? Originally, indigo was made from a plant. The colour was extracted from a plant, but these days it's made by mixing other colours together. Now, unfortunately, there is no standard mix of these colours. So every manufacturer that makes indigo watercolour will use a different mix of paints. So you will have things like Prussian blue, indanthrone blue, phthalo blue, black, all sorts of things will go into mixing indigo. And yes, you can mix your own from your own colours in your box. So when you look at indigos, you'll find that they all vary. Some of them will tend towards the black, some of them will tend towards purple, some of them lean towards blue, so they are all very different. You just have to choose the one that you like the look of. There are some things about it which are a little bit different. For example, if you have one that's made with phthalo blue, now phthalo blue is a very staining blue. So if you want an indigo that you can easily lift off the paper, then it might not be a good idea to use an indigo that has phthalo blue as its base. So just something to think about. But let's have a look at indigo and see what we can do with it. Now, there are several ways that you can tone down or darken a colour. For example, if I had a green and I wanted to tone it down or darken it, I could add its complementary colour, which is red, which is the colour that's directly opposite it on the colour wheel. If I wanted to tone down or darken a blue, I could add orange to it, which is its complementary colour. But there are other ways that you can tone down or darken some colours. You could add a neutral colour, something like Payne's grey or neutral tint, and mix that in with the paint and darken it that way. You can also use indigo, which I'm going to show you here. Now, indigo, if it's a good quality indigo, will be transparent, and therefore you'll be able to use it for what we call glazing. Now, glazing is where you paint a layer of paint over a colour that's already dried. So I'll show you that. So here's some indigo. And these are already dry, excuse me, and I'm going to paint a layer of paint over, I didn't quite mix that properly, sorry about that, let's mix it a bit better. I've painted a layer of paint over a ready dried colour. And you should be able to see that colour glowing through underneath. Now that's called glazing, and what it does is it darkens or changes the colour, but because this is transparent, you can still see that colour glowing through from underneath. Now, indigo is a beautiful, dark, rich blue. You can see how deep that is there. Now I'm going to use that to darken some of the colours that I have in my, what I call my basic palette, and we'll see how it works. So here I've got a little chart of the colours in my basic palette. So we'll start off with some cobalt blue, So here's cobalt blue, and then we'll darken that down by adding a little bit of the indigo to it. And we'll see what we get. So this is cobalt and indigo. You see how that darkens that beautifully without making it look black or grey. Sometimes when you use neutral tint or you use a grey, it can make your colours look more towards the black side, but that has just given it a beautiful dark rich colour. So now let's put some cerulean. That's my cerulean blue. And then we'll mix up cerulean blue with some indigo and see what that does. So here's cerulean, a little bit more indigo, I think. Indigo is such a rich colour, you've got to be careful how you add it. Add it very gently. You can always add more, but you can't take it away. See how that's darkened that without making it look black or grey. Now we'll take some ultramarine. It's a very bright blue ultramarine. So here's the ultramarine. Now let's add some indigo to that. Do it very gently because indigo is so strong. A little bit more. And there we've got our darkened ultramarine. If I just water that down a bit, you can see how that, see the colour that it actually makes. You see, none of these look as though they're going towards the black or the grey, which can happen when you add things like Payne's grey and neutral tint. Not that there's anything wrong with using those, I use them myself, but you've got to be a little bit careful because they do tend to go towards the black and grey a little. Let's come down now to the reds, so let's look at Pyrrole Scarlet. This is a very fierce colour. So here's Pyrrole Scarlet. Let's do it this way this time and then we can water it down a bit. There's my Pyrrole Scarlet. Now let's add some ultramarine to some indigo to it and see what we get. Wow! What a super colour that is. Look, just a little bit of indigo added to the Pyrrole Scarlet. What a fabulous colour. It's almost an aubergine colour. And now one of my really favourite colours is light red. Now light red is a sort of a brick, almost a brick colour. Here's light red. Can make that a little stronger at the top there. Now let's add some indigo to the light red. And here's indigo and light red. And I'll water that down. And look at that beautiful, beautiful brown. So this is just mixing indigo with red. And now probably my all-time favourite, which is quinacridone rose, which is a very cool, almost magenta colour. This is quinacridone rose. And I'll just dilute that a little. Now this is quinacridone rose with a little bit of indigo. And again I'll dilute that down. Look at that lovely purple. Now I don't honestly think any of those look as though they're going towards black or grey. The colours remain so rich. I'll just move this up a little way to make sure it's in the camera. Now let's move down to the next line, and this is the one that may surprise you. Now this is not so much about making a colour darker, it's about changing it completely. Now this is raw sienna. Now here comes raw sienna with indigo. Can you guess what we're going to make? Because raw sienna is yellow and indigo is basically blue, yes, we're going to get green. What an easy way to make green! Just by adding indigo to one of our yellows. Let's take the Hansa yellow, which is my medium yellow. Not really warm, not really cool, sort of in the middle. Here's my Hansa yellow. Now let's add indigo to that. Again, be a bit careful because it's very strong. Oh, I'll just put the Hansa yellow down first. I forgot to do that. Let's put the Hansa yellow down first so you can see it. There's the Hansa yellow. Hansa yellow medium this is. There is a light and a dark as well, but this is Hansa yellow medium. And here it is with indigo added. A lovely bright spring green. Now if I add more indigo to the same mix, this is Hansa yellow medium with more indigo. We will get the most beautiful, dark, deep, rich green. Look at that. What a wonderful way to make greens. Now with this beautiful dark green, if I added a little bit of burnt sienna to that, it will make it even more exciting. So this is Hansa yellow medium, indigo, and burnt sienna. And I'll just water that again. So there you've got still a very rich green, but a little bit more towards the red side, with that little bit of burnt sienna in it. Now I'm going to add indigo to my earth colours, which is my burnt sienna, which is here. There's my burnt sienna. Take some of that, and if I add some indigo to that, then you can probably guess that it's just going to make a beautiful, rich, dark brown. And I'll just dilute that slightly so you can see. And again with burnt umber. Burnt umber is a much cooler dark brown, earthy colour. So we'll add some indigo to that. And this is burnt umber and indigo. Whoops, that should have been burnt umber on its own. My apologies. This one should be over there, but never mind. This is the burnt umber with the indigo added. So I should have put that one in there. But I'm certainly not going to do them all again. So can you see how burnt sienna with indigo is very different to burnt umber with indigo? It makes a beautiful, rich, dark brown. Now over here, I'm going to do a mix which I absolutely adore, which is indigo, and I'm actually going to make the paper a little bit wet to start with. So I'm just going to make this a little bit wet, and I'm going to drop in some of this beautiful quinacridone rose. And I'm also going to drop in some indigo. What a mixture. Now you imagine using that for making dark purples and things for stormy skies. And look how look how this indigo bleeds out into the water and makes this beautiful feathery like little fingers reaching out into the water. Now next week I'm going to do a landscape painting, and I'm only going to use indigo and quinacridone rose for the whole painting. So I hope you'll be able to see that. So just a very quick look back over these. You can use indigo as what we call a glaze, which is laying it over a ready dried paint. And now that this is dry, can you see these colours glowing through? You can mix just about any paint in your paint box with a neutral colour like Payne's Grey or neutral tint, but you can also do the same thing with indigo. And here are the examples of mixing it with indigo. And personally, I think indigo keeps the colours bright. There's no hint here of them changing into grey or tending towards the black side. So you can see from all the little colour swatches and things I've been doing that you can use your indigo in several different ways. Now, one little word of warning, or not warning, but a little word of advice. Don't get too hung up on doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of colour swatches. Because yes, by all means do some colour swatches when you're working out the colours for a new palette, or you've bought a new colour and you want to know how it works. But doing colour swatches can be addictive. And you find that after a while you've done hundreds of colour swatches, but you've never actually painted a picture. So just a few colour swatches, yes, really, really useful. But then just get on and paint some pictures, because that's where you really learn to mix your colours. If you found this video useful, then consider clicking that little subscribe button, and if you've enjoyed it, then give it a thumbs up. Now remember, next week I'm going to be doing a landscape painting where I'm only going to use indigo and quinacridone rose. So I hope you will join me for that one. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Now remember, there is an artist in everyone. Goodbye for now.